Hey everyone, this week instead of doing a pro or low elo review, we're going somewhere in the middle and looking to review some higher elo games around the Diamond 1 to Diamond 2 range. Now, don't get us wrong, we could easily talk about the same errors that we see in low elo since those types of plays don't go away even in Diamond. But we've chosen high Diamond elo since this is where games start to get a bit more refined and the reasons players might be losing can become a bit more subtle, such as mindset or habitual errors that are more difficult to notice, and that's definitely what we'll be focusing on in today's guide. Lastly, although this is going to be focused on ADC players, all the stuff we'll be covering is applicable to any role in case any non-ADC players are watching. Alright, let's get into the first replay. In this game, Jinx's lane starts off quite tragically. Her support Karma hands a free kill over to a Caitlyn Thresh lane, which is going to make things a living nightmare for this poor Jinx. Fortunately for her, the enemy duo isn't really doing too much with their lead. They're mismanaging waves and not really pressuring her nearly as hard as they could. Even better, Jinx and Karma go nuts later on in the lane and massively outplay the Thresh and Caitlyn in an all-in 2v2 fight. Thresh misses everything, not predicting that Jinx would go forward. The nice sidestepping clutches out a double kill in a lane where Jinx and Karma should definitely have been losing. Of course, the enemy Hecarim ruins the fun and comes to even things out a little bit. Here's where the mistake comes in. Jinx chases him trying to bait a kill with Kha'Zix for about 5 seconds. She fails and walks back to push the wave. That's it. That's the mistake. That wasn't so bad though, right? Wrong. This was awful and a symptom of a terrible mentality which we constantly see throwing games. Here's what we believe was going through Jinx's head as she chased Hecarim. She's hoping that his pet cat will jump onto his desk, scratch him in the face, take over his mouse, and click over here. Then the cat will continue mauling him, completely incapacitating the Hecarim for 15 seconds as he dies to level 3 Jinx autos. That's probably about what was going through her head. It's important to keep in mind that League of Legends is a game about punishing mistakes. Depending on the elo you're playing in, the mistakes will be much more subtle and far less common, but they exist at every skill level, even in the professional scene. You don't make kills magically happen. You wait for your opponents to screw up and punish them for it. But you have to give your opponents credit as well, especially as you climb higher. Yes, they will make mistakes, but they're not just going to run it down into you every time. This is a Diamond 1 replay. Give the Hecarim some credit. Sure, his E is on CD, but when a Jinx is running at him like this, it is the most obvious bait ever. He's super unlikely to fall for this. The chase also tells us that Jinx wasn't thinking about her win condition whatsoever. She just got pretty lucky that she and Karma outplayed the Thresh and Kate so hard, especially while being down a kill. Right now, her only goal in life should be to crash this wave and get a clean reset. If you're ahead as Jinx Karma in this lane, my god, is the game over. The other side gets outscaled so hard that it's almost impossible for them to come back. Her little chase gives them some hope though. It took her so long to finish crashing the wave that Hecarim set up a freeze for the Caitlyn, which was well played by him. Not that it matters since the Caitlyn decides that she didn't care for a freeze and just lets it crash into her own tower. Jinx will likely never look back on that specific scenario and berate herself for the terrible mindset she had since she didn't get punished, but it can serve as a good lesson for us all. If you ever do get appropriately punished or fall behind in some way, you should always ask yourself, did I screw up from a lack of game sense, or were my actions influenced by some sort of negative mindset which can be fixed? You should definitely ask yourself those types of questions more often as you self-review your games. Okay, let's move on to our second example. It's 23 minutes into the game, and things are looking quite good for the red team. They've got 2 dragons, a gold lead, and there's a scaling comp with Kassadin and Vayne. As things progress, we see that Riven has managed to score a solo kill in the bot lane onto the enemy Camille. Sadly, the infallible solo queue law of equivalent int states that for every good teammate you have, you'll have a Nunu who just stands still and waits to die, nullifying any immediate numbers advantage the red team may have had. Blitz, trying to help, gets caught out and has to blow his flash, getting away from the fed enemy Yone. In the meantime, Vayne was pushing out the mid wave and immediately initiates a fight once the enemy team comes into her range. Things end up going quite well for Vayne and friends. Although she face tanked a Yone ultimate, Vayne managed to deal out enough damage before she died, ensuring that her team was able to come out ahead at the end of the encounter. It should come as no shock that despite how this fight played out, we still hated this engage, so let's talk about that. We can give Vayne the benefit of the doubt that she did indeed think about the fact that her Riven had teleport and could join the fight before engaging. Even if that's the case, let's imagine we're the Riven for a moment and see why she may not want to teleport here in the first place. So I'm Riven, I've just solo killed my opponent. Since the enemy team is all top, I have a ton of side lane pressure with no one catching waves or defending the tower down there. Ah, my Vayne engaged. That's awesome. There's nothing more I want than to waste my teleport to an even-numbered fight, especially without my ultimate. Hopefully that makes sense as to why it's a bad engagement. Teleport is a massively important CD and should be used to force favorable encounters, not coin flips. What a complete waste of a side lane advantage. The other reason it's bad is simply positional advantage being thrown away for no reason. Look at the map before the fight. The top wave is crashing into the enemy's tower, so they're missing farm there. Vayne has access to the enemy's bot side jungle thanks to pushing mid, so she can take their raptors and then rotate towards Scuttle. Likewise, as we just said, Riven is totally alone in bot, so she can crash waves into the enemy tower and steal their Krugs as well. These are great map advantages for the red team, and they outscale at the same time, which means that it's even better if they just play it safe and steal the enemy's farm. All the enemy team can do in response is take the red team's raptor camp and maybe start a desperation baron, which is definitely a death sentence considering they're already behind. That's one final point that we want to make in regards to this engage and fight. If this were a mid lane guide, we'd be praising this Kassadin for following up here appropriately, but that's only because he went in after Vayne's tumble forward. But let's reverse the order. Imagine it was Kassadin who blinked in first and then Vayne tumbled in as a response. In that case, we'd be praising Vayne here. The idea is that this is not a terrible fight to take, and following up on your teammate's initiation isn't all that bad. Here's the mentality that you want to have in solo queue. It may seem very small, but it's incredibly important for long-term improvement. You need to recognize when a fight is unnecessary and when you should be walking away. If you've already recognized that and your teammates engage, then it's fine to follow up. It's always more important to know what the correct play is, rather than what actually happens in the randomness of solo queue. Alright, onto our final replay. We want to clear up something that we feel a lot of players get wrong, which is limit testing. Take a look at this Senna lane. Things go wrong for her and Seraphine early on as they get 3-man ganked at an unfortunate time, resulting in handing over a double kill. Honestly, stuff like this happens. It was avoidable, but pretty unlucky to be fair. Let's move things forward a bit. Senna and Seraphine are playing the lane fairly well and manage to chunk Ashe quite low. Senna flashes forward and immediately gets polymorphed and blown up as Ahri arrives to help her bot lane clean things up. Rewinding things back to the beginning, let's look at the scoreboard. With this knowledge, what do you think Senna's biggest mistake was? It's very easy to see that the top side of the map is dominating. This may lead some of you to believe that our expected answer here is that Senna should just play safe instead of flashing forward. That's a very fair assessment. Nocturne was jungle diffing quite hard this game, and all Senna had to do to win this game was play safely. Just let her top side handle the game. There's no reason for Senna to try and do anything at all. Playing safe isn't our final verdict though. We don't mind limit testing. Throwing the game while your team is already winning in order to progress your own learning is totally fine with most of us here at skillcapped. The problem is differentiating between a good limit test and a dumb coin flip. What makes this example a dumb coin flip was obviously the fact that Ahri had been pinged missing on the map for quite some time before the engage. Think back to how often you're freezing bot lane and winning lane, and somehow the enemy Vayne and Lulu managed to roam mid and score 2 kills for absolutely no reason. It's infuriating. The situation here is no different. Ahri is roaming at a bad timing, where Cassiopeia is crashing a cannon wave into her tower, and roaming means that she'll miss a ton of gold and potentially concede a turret plate. So here's what we really want to get at. Oftentimes, not always, when players go for plays like these, they excuse it after the fact as, I was just limit testing. That mindset is horrible as it can impede proper learning, if not applied correctly. Like we said, Senna went in with no knowledge as to where Ahri was. This wasn't a limit test, this was just a dumb coin flip because Senna wasn't playing around certain information that was available to her. In a hypothetical world where Ahri was still mid and we saw where Viego was, then yes, this could have been a genuinely decent limit test moment. The fight looked good, and flashing in doesn't seem terrible. It almost certainly would have failed, but at that point, Senna could have learned from her bad habits and seen how she can improve to play this out better. It's very easy to learn that, yes, when I'm tunneling on a kill, I often forget to fully track everyone's CDs. Flashing in while Lulu still has E and W is terrible mid-fight awareness. I'll learn from it. This is all a very small but important distinction. It's important to actually understand what went wrong so that you can learn from it. Identifying if you were just misinformed or you were genuinely testing your limits is the first thing you should ask yourself after any play like this. Alright everyone, that's going to wrap up this guide. Hopefully this helps some of you become more aware of the poor mentalities or habits that you might have developed in solo queue. By the way, you should know where these videos come from. Skillcapped. It's the best place to be if you actually want to improve at League of Legends. We have the best and the most LoL guides on the internet that really do work. The best part is that you don't have to take our word for it. If you don't climb 5 divisions while using skillcapped, you can claim a refund. So give it a shot and get the rank you've always wanted for Season 11. Check us out after this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.